So today we are going to discuss on HCM data loader. So we call it as an HDL in Oracle system. So this is a way by which we actually import the data into system. So either whether it is a foundation data or whether it is a transactional data, that is your employee data, or whether it is like your loading of different compensation plan, or loading of absences record, or loading of payroll data. So all can be achieved by HDL. So we'll see what are the different objects which HDL supports, and we'll also try to do a sample load for a grade and a sample load for a location. And we'll try to prepare our file and try to load into the system and see how system will work and how can we load the data into system. So HDL is like a file. It will be like a text file, flat file. So in which you will have some columns, then we'll have some data, and the file will be actually separated by your delimiter, that is your pipe. So it is a flat base file, and it is used for your bulk loading. So whenever you do a migration or before going live, so whenever you're migrating from the old system to a new system, then we use this HDL to populate the data into the system. And after that, this HDL can also be used in the incremental load. Suppose that you have created a interface between the third party to Fusion application. So it is like the data from the third party is actually coming to HCM every day, or maybe like hourly, or maybe like weekly. So what you have to do is that once you are creating an interface, you will create an HDL ready file format. And what will that happen? It will actually invoke the HDL web service, and it will actually try to populate the required field in the system. So HDL will be used for both the things, whether it is an incremental load or whether it is the initial load. Incremental load is like doing an you're actually loading the data into system at a particular interval. Now HDL we generally use whenever we have a large set of data, and it also supports the hierarchy. So we'll see what is hierarchy. We'll come to that. Then with help of HDL, you can actually load the data from multiple sources. Suppose that you are planning to migrate the data from PeopleSoft, you are planning to migrate the data from R12, you have some other ERPs also, like JD Edwards, CBill. So maybe you have 4 or 5 different ERPs. Now you are moving to Fusion application, and you want to migrate the data from all the ERPs at the same time. So Fusion application also supports a data migration from a multiple system. And once you load the data, it actually validates the data, and it actually loads the data again. So it do the validation and loading both. Then it also support for an error correction. So whenever there is some error in the system, or whenever you're trying to load the data and due to some reason the data is not getting loaded, so it will display a message that this is a problem, try to fix this problem, the data will be loaded. So it will give you hint, and it will actually display the error message. And it supports almost all the data and all the complex history data, and you can also load the data as of today's date or as of past date. So in short, it actually supports an effective data loading. So I will pause for a moment. So any questions on HDL? Then you can see that we have multiple ERPs, like on application you have third party vendors. So all the data from each and every system can be clubbed together, and they can be moved to a single system, that is Oracle HCM. This HDL actually supports the business objects throughout different modules. So in global human resource also it supports some business object like your locations, department, job, employee data. In global payroll, it actually supports your loading of your payroll definitions or loading of your payroll related elements and data. In compensation, it actually supports the load of your salary data or load of your compensation element values. So you can see that this HTL can be used in different modules. So whenever it is used in different modules, it takes care of different business object which is related to that module. In performance management, it actually helps you to load the performance rating. It will help you to load the reporting establishment. So a lot of performance related data can also be loaded. Whenever you create a flex fill in the system, the flex fill data can also be loaded with help of HDL. You can also load the person images. You can also load various documents into the system. Like suppose that a person is having a visa a document, a person is having a passport document. So we did exercise on person documentation. So where we actually created a document for a person. So and we uploaded a random text file from our local machine. So suppose that you have to load passport detail and a passport scan image for each and every employee in your organization. So you can use the HTL way to achieve that. So you can see that it can be used to load flex field data, to load images. It can be used to load the documents of record, that is documents that can be used to load the translation data. So suppose that there is an entity business object which is translated in multiple languages. So you can load the value to each and every languages with help of HTL. And it can also be used to load different types of organization and business hierarchies. So if we speak about global HR module, so you can see that these are the different data which we can load with help HDL. So we can load it, grade, we can load locations, we can load actions, action reason, the LDG which we have created, we can load that also, the grade rate, grade step, job family. So you can see many of the things we have created manually in the system. Now if you want to do a bulk upload, you can do a bulk upload also. We created an area of responsibility. If you want to do a bulk upload of area of responsibility, you can do that also. To the next slide. In global payroll, it actually helps in element entry. So you can load the different types of element entry with help of your HDL. In compensation, salary and salary basis can be loaded. In talent, you can see education establishment, your compensation, your talent rating, your goal plan, talent pool, everything can be loaded into the system with help of HDL. This is the way by which HDL works. So this is your source system on the left hand side. Okay, and this is your Fusion application. So what you need to do is that you need to extract the data from the source system in such a way that it is an HDL ready format, so that you can actually invoke the HDL services and you can load the data into system. So first of all, suppose that you are trying to load a location data, you are trying to load a job. So you have to understand that what are the different fields which a job business object have. So in a job business object, a different field can be like job name, job code, set. All these are various fields which we have in a job business object. So first of all, you need to have an understanding of a business object. So once you know that to create a job, these are the different fields, and out of these fields, these are mandatory fields. Then you will go and write a SQL or something, or maybe like a PL SQL or something in your source system. Source system can be your PeopleSoft or can be e-business suite, any other. And from there you will try to extract the data into an HTML ready file format. And once you have the data in HTML ready file format, you will upload the data to the server that we known as a UCM, content management server. And once you upload the data to UCM, the system will do a validation whether the data which you have loaded is in a correct format or not. Suppose that you are trying to load a job data and you have used some set which is not there in the system, or you are using some wrong effective date, or you're using the date format is not correct. So all these, it will do a validation and it will give you the error that you are trying to load the data, but these are the errors. Try to fix it first, and then again you will retry the process. So any question on this image? So first of all, you have to understand object on which you are trying to work. Then you have to work on your source system to get the data extracted as per the HTML ready file. Then you will create a zip file, and now once you have the zip file ready, you will upload it to the content management server. Now, I was actually talking about that HTML also supports hierarchies. So in hierarchy, if I see that there will be a parent component, and that parent component can have a child component. All those can be loaded into a single file. So you don't need to create multiple files. Like for child, you don't need to create another file. For parent, you don't need to create another file. So all the data can be loaded into a single file. So suppose that parent is having 2 children, and parent is having 2 attributes, children is having 1 attribute each. So all the data can be loaded by a single file. So you can see that this is a parent component, and these are the attributes which is related to parent. Then this parent component will have multiple child components, and these child components can have also multiple attributes. So all these can be loaded into a single file and at a single time. One of such example for hierarchy is job. So you remember when we created job, so there were different train stops and there were different values. We might have left the value as a blank, or you might have entered some data. So suppose that, so in that creation, there was some parent component and there was some children component. So when you enter the detail like your name, code, your set ID or common set, so all those are parent component, job. And for each job, you attach a list of grade, or you may have some job extra information detail, like your extensible flexible information, or you may have like a job legislative extra information. So all those are different components of a job. You can load all the components together, or you can go one by one also. Suppose that you are attaching a list of grades to a job. That was your job valid grade field. So that job valid grade is a children component. So this parent and children can be loaded together. Same way, so this is another way of representation. So we have a parent, that is a job, and this job can have a multiple children, like your job grade, your job evaluation, your extra information, legislative extra information. All of the data can be loaded in a single. So like see, when you're trying to load a job, fields like your effective start date, effective end date, job code, set code, name, all whether it is an active job, whether it is a full-time, part-time. So you remember all these fields when we were creating job. So these are your parent components. So job is your parent component. All these attributes are related to your parent component. But there was also a page where we can add some grade to the job. That was like job valid grade. So that job valid grade is a child component, and that will again have a child attribute like effective start date, effective end date, and your job code, grade code. Then there was another train stop, so where there was some detail about evaluation system. So in case you want to upload that data also, so that will become your children component, and again it will have these many attributes. Now suppose that if you're trying to work on a job data, or if you're trying to work on a location data, if you're trying to work on a grade data, so for each set of business object, you need to have a separate file if you're trying to load. Suppose that if you're trying to load location detail and the children component of location, so in that case, you have to have a single file, that is location.dat, That will be the name of file, like this. If you're trying to load a grade data, so grade can have a different children components or a parent, the grade will be a parent component and grade step will be a children component. So in that case, if you want to load the data, so the file name will be grade.dat, job, job.dat. And if you're trying to load the person data, like your person name, person email, person phone number, person work relationship detail, person assignment details, so all will come under worker.dat. And it is, you cannot change the name of the file. So I will show you, whenever you are creating a file, it has to be the name of the object which you are trying to load.